This isn't discussed within churches, which is why many Christians are confused when I talk about this subject, but there's a specific time period so crucial in biblical prophecies that it's mentioned in 7 different ways in the book of Revelation. It's not a coincidence, it's not vague symbolism, it's exactly 1,260 days. And when you understand what will happen during this period, when you realize why this specific time is all the Antichrist needs to completely transform the world as we know it, you will never look at the Bible and the news the same way again. Get ready, because what I'm about to show you will connect prophecies from 2,500 years ago with technologies that are being implemented right now. 1,260 days, 3.5 years, 42 months. Time, times, and half a time. All these expressions appear in the scriptures, always connected to the same event, the final dominion of the Antichrist over the earth. And the question is that nobody thinks about it, but it should keep us awake at night. Why only 1,260 days? Why not 10 years? Why not an entire generation? What can be done in just 3.5 years that is so devastating, so complete, so absolute that it forever changes the destiny of humanity? The answer will shock you, because it involves something you're already using every day without realizing it. When Daniel received the vision of the Fourth Empire, he saw something that deeply terrified him. A terrible and frightening beast, very strong, with large iron teeth. It devoured, crushed, and trampled the remains with its feet. It was different from all the animals that came before it. And from this beast came 10 horns, and among them a small horn came up, which had eyes like a man and a mouth that spoke boastfully. The angel explained to Daniel that this little horn was a king who would arise and speak against the Most High. He would destroy the saints of the Most High and try to change the times and the law. And the saints would be delivered into his hands for a time, times and half a time, 3.5 years. Everyone reads this prophecy and thinks it's about military power, about armies conquering nations, about traditional warfare where tanks invade borders and soldiers occupy territories. But that was true for ancient empires. The final empire will operate completely differently, and that's why only 1,260 days are enough. I'm going to tell you something that will make you rethink everything. The true power of the Antichrist will not come from conventional armed forces. It will come from the absolute control of 3 specific things: information, money, and identity. And with the technology that exists today, these 3 things can be controlled globally in a matter of days, not years. Think about it. How long would it take to implement a global digital payment system if all governments agreed simultaneously? If a massive economic crisis happened tomorrow, how long would it take for people to accept a digital solution offered by a charismatic leader promising stability? Days, maybe weeks, not years. The technology already exists. Biometric identification systems are already operational. Central bank digital currencies are already being tested in dozens of countries. The infrastructure for a unified global payment system has already been built. All that's missing is the catalyst, the moment of crisis that will make people voluntarily accept what they would never accept in normal times. And here's what few realize. The Antichrist won't need to conquer the world by force. People will willingly and gratefully relinquish control, thinking they are receiving salvation, when in reality they are accepting slavery. Revelation 13 describes this system with a precision that should send chills down our spines. It was also given power to give breath to the image of the beast, so that the image would both speak and cause all who refuse to worship it to be killed. He causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or on their forehead, so that no one may buy or sell except one who has the mark, a mark on the hand or forehead. Everyone focuses on that and debates whether it's literal or symbolic. But they miss the crucial point. No one will be able to buy or sell without the mark. That's total economic control. Absolute. Universal. And how long do you think someone can survive without being able to buy food? Without being able to pay rent? Without being able to access basic services? Most people don't have savings for more than a month. Many don't have enough for more than a week. When you can't buy or sell, you're completely at the mercy of the system. This changes everything because it means the Antichrist doesn't need years to consolidate power. He only needs weeks to implement the system. And once implemented, any resistance becomes almost impossible because those who resist are cut off from the economic system immediately. I'm going to show you something even more disturbing. The prophecy says that the image of the beast will speak. It will appear alive, and it will cause the killing of all who do not worship it. Until recently, this seemed impossible. How could a statue speak convincingly? How could it appear alive? How could it identify who worships and who does not? But now we have advanced artificial intelligence. We have three-dimensional holograms. We have real-time facial recognition. We have systems that can monitor billions of people simultaneously. The technology to do exactly what the prophecy describes not only exists, but is being improved every day. And here's the detail that nobody connects. This technology can be implemented globally in a matter of days, once the political decision is made. It doesn't need massive physical infrastructure. Everything is already connected via the internet. Everything is already in the cloud. Everything is already ready to be activated. For 1,260 days, exactly 42 months, the Antichrist will have this system operating at full capacity. And the prophecy says that during this period, he will change the times and the law. He will speak words against the Most High. He will persecute the saints of the Most High. And he will succeed in all this because whoever opposes him will simply be cut off from the system. Get ready, because what I'm about to tell you about the prophetic timeline will make you understand why these 1,260 days are the second half of a carefully orchestrated 7-year plan. Daniel prophesied that the Antichrist would make a firm covenant with many for 1 week. 7 years. In the middle of the week, at 3.5 years, he will break the covenant and establish the abomination of desolation. This means that the first 3.5 years are for preparation, for gaining trust, for building loyalty, for establishing the necessary infrastructure. For the first 3.5 years, the Antichrist will appear as the savior of the world. He will resolve the conflict in the Middle East. He will allow the Jews to rebuild the temple. He will bring economic prosperity. He will be celebrated as the greatest leader in human history. And during this time, he will be gradually implementing systems of control, selling them as convenience, as security, as progress. Digital payments will become the norm. Physical money will be phased out. Digital identification will be required for more and more services. Social credit systems will be implemented under the guise of public safety. Everything will be voluntary. Everything will be presented as a benefit. Everything will be gradually accepted by the population. And then, exactly in the middle of the 7-year period, everything changes. The Antichrist enters the temple in Jerusalem. He violently interrupts the sacrifices. He sets up his own image in the Holy of Holies. He proclaims himself God. And he fully activates the control system that had been gradually implemented. Now it's no longer voluntary. Now it's mandatory. Receive the mark or starve to death. Worship the image or be executed. The system that people accepted thinking it was for their benefit reveals itself as the most perfect trap ever created. And here's why just 1,260 days are enough. Because at that point, there's no more need for persuasion. There's no more need to win hearts and minds. The system is already in place. People are already dependent on it. And those who don't accept it simply don't survive. I'm going to show you something that connects all of this to events happening right now. The Abraham Accords normalized relations between Israel and Arab countries. Talks about a broader peace treaty are constantly taking place. The reconstruction of the temple is being meticulously prepared by the Temple Institute. The technology for the global control system already exists and is being implemented piece by piece. All that's missing is the catalyst, the crisis that will make nations accept a world leader, the event that will make people surrender their freedoms in exchange for security. And when that moment arrives, everything will happen much faster than people imagine, because the previous generation thought in terms of wars that lasted for years, of occupations that lasted for decades, of cultural changes that took generations. But we live in the age of instant information, of accelerated change, of transformations that happen overnight. When the pandemic began, how long did it take for the entire world to completely change its way of life? Weeks. When economic crises happen, how long does it take for markets to collapse? Hours. We live in a world where massive changes can happen at speeds our grandparents could never have imagined. And the Antichrist will use precisely this characteristic of the modern world. He will implement his system at lightning speed. And 1,260 days will be more than enough to consolidate absolute control over humanity. Jesus said that there would be days of tribulation such as have never been since the beginning of the world until now, nor ever will be. And if those days were not shortened, no flesh would be saved. The intensity will be so great that if it lasted longer, humanity would be completely exterminated. This changes everything because it means we're not talking about a prolonged period of gradual suffering. We're talking about 1,260 days of absolute intensity, of unprecedented persecution, of concentrated tribulation like never before. And here's something that should make you stop everything you're doing right now. The prophecy doesn't just describe this period, it gives us the exact marker of when it begins. When you see the abomination of desolation standing in the holy place, mark 1,260 days on the calendar. From that moment, you know exactly how much time is left until Christ returns. Because at the end of those 1,260 days, Jesus returns. Revelation describes the heavens opening, the King of Kings and Lord of Lords appearing mounted on a white horse, the heavenly armies following him, and in a single day all the power of the Antichrist is completely destroyed. The beast is captured, the false prophet is thrown alive into the lake of fire, Satan is bound for 1,000 years, and the kingdom of Christ is established on earth. 1,260 days of horror end abruptly with the total victory of Jesus. But here's what most people completely miss. For this timeline to begin, for those specific 1,260 days to start counting down, certain things need to happen first, and those things are being prepared now. The temple needs to be rebuilt. Preparations are underway. The peace treaty needs to be signed. Negotiations are in progress. The technology for global control needs to exist. It already exists and is being implemented. The world leader needs to appear. The conditions for his rise are being created. When you connect the dots, when you see how all the pieces are falling into place simultaneously for the first time in history, you understand that we are living in an unprecedented prophetic moment. We are witnessing the stage being set for the final events. And the question you need to ask yourself with absolute honesty is this: when those 1,260 days begin, where will you be? Because the Bible is clear. There is a time before these events when the true followers of Christ will be taken from the earth. The rapture will happen before the Great Tribulation begins. Paul writes that we were not destined for wrath, but to attain salvation through our Lord Jesus Christ. True Christians will not go through the 1,260 days of the Antichrist's total dominion. They will be celebrating the wedding feast of the Lamb in heaven while judgment falls upon the earth. But if you're just dabbling in religion, if you've never truly surrendered your life to Jesus Christ, if you have a form of piety but deny its power, then you will remain, and you will have to choose between receiving the mark and surviving physically, or refusing the mark and most likely dying as a martyr. Millions will make the right choice, even in that terrible moment. They will prefer to die rather than deny Christ. John saw in a vision a multitude that no one could count, from every nation, tribe, people, and language. And when he asked who they were, the answer was that these are the ones who come out of the Great Tribulation and have washed their robes in the blood of the Lamb. But why wait until that point? Why go through 1,260 days of horror when you can accept Christ now and be spared all this tribulation? Time is running out not because we know the exact day or hour. Jesus was clear that no one knows that. But we know the signs, we see the seasons. We understand that when all these things begin to happen, the generation that sees them will not pass away until everything is fulfilled. And all these things are happening simultaneously for the first time. Israel exists as a nation. Jerusalem is under Jewish control. Preparations for the temple are complete. The technology for the mark system exists. Peace negotiations are underway. The conditions for the rise of a world leader are being created. The Antichrist only needs 1,260 days because the infrastructure is already being built now. The systems are already being implemented. The population is already being conditioned to accept digital control. All that's missing is the moment of full activation. And when that moment arrives, it will happen so quickly that those who remain will wonder how they didn't see it coming. They will look back and realize that all the signs were there, that the prophecies had warned them centuries in advance, that the opportunity to escape was available, but they chose to ignore it. Don't be that person. Don't wait until it's too late. Because when the 1260 days begin, when the Antichrist reveals his true nature, when the control system is fully activated, there will be no easy way out. Only the choice between the mark of the beast or martyrdom. The door of grace is still open. The invitation is still being extended. Jesus is still calling all who are weary and burdened to come to him. But this window will not remain open indefinitely. The day will come when the rapture happens and the door will be closed. The prophecies are being fulfilled before our very eyes. The timeline is aligning. The 1,260 most terrible days in human history are approaching. The question is no longer if, but when. And more importantly, where will you be when it happens? If you've watched this far, comment, "Jesus, save me and protect my life." God be with you, and see you in the next video.